So today I decided I will do a bird's nest, more of a mixed media. I'm doing it on a 4x4. First thing I want to do is I'm using a super heavy gesso. I already did the gessoed one with the yellow tone on it. I'm using gesso by Liquitex. I'm putting it on with a large palette knife, just laying it on lightly. I already put one little coat on it, but I wanted to show you how I do this. It takes a while for it to dry, so that's why I did the one on the left earlier. But this is just to show you how I sometimes put texture on. The bird's nest on the left, I did not use texture at all. But this one is more of a mixed media. I'm going to use scrapbook paper also. And then the one that I already pre-gessoed, I put a ground color on of a yellow ochre. This is the paper that I use. It says reflections on it, 180 sheets of scrapbook paper. And I already cut a piece off. And I will use, instead of Mod Podge, liquitex matte gel. I use a little spatula. I found those, I think Michael's has them. Any of the stores like TJ Maxx. I like this better. It doesn't have a real sticky, it's more professional. So I put this piece on. Sometimes I do the background first, but this time I did not. I decided to put the scrapbook paper on, it should dry a little bit, but this is just a small piece. It should be fine. And then instead of using the wet palette, I just have my gray middle tone palette paper that I'm using. I already put some colors down. I have blues, green, burnt umber, yellow ochre, and some white, titanium white. And I'm using my big long handle brush that I use a lot. I'm holding it loosely. I'm just scumbling in the colors, letting the yellow show through. I don't always do this, but this is what I felt like doing today. So I'm picking up some of the yellow ochre and some of the lighter yellow and kind of keeping my brush dirty. I'm scumbling it in the background, covering and going close to a paper that I already put on. Later on, I'm going to use a pen to put some mark making on close to the paper that I use, the scrapbook paper. So like I said, I'm keeping my brush dirty. I don't clean it off much. I may wipe it once in a while, but I'm not using a lot of paint. But I don't want just one color. Having the background have different colors, bringing in some of the, excuse me, some of the green into the background. And so I don't know if I said this already. This is a 4x4 stapled back canvas. It's not gallery wrapped. It's thinner. And bringing in some of the blues. And keeping, like I said, keeping little pockets of the yellow showing through. I don't have any white canvas showing on this at all. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the bird's nest, the center of it, where the eggs will lay. And as you notice, I don't usually put my piece in the center. I have it either angled at the left or the right, so your eye kind of moves in from the left and moves up to the design of the piece. And I'm using the same brush. I kind of make a sharp point as I'm picking up the paint, and I'm doing fairly large twigs, or thick twigs, let's say, coming in and going around. And I'm doing this very loose and whimsical. I'm not concerned of a big shape of the nest at all. And I'm using the burnt umber color and picking up some of the green that I used. The green is just like an olive type green. It's not a bluish green, not evergreen or phthalo. It's more of a darker olive green. You can use any color you want. I change my colors a lot. One of the colors I think I have on there too is raw umber. It has more of a gray tone to it. So I still have that center there. Every time I clean my brush off, I try to squeeze out the water. And so, yeah. And then I'm picking up the light blue. These are all student grade or craft paints. I didn't use any of my professional paints on this. And I'm taking the tip of my brush and I'm kind of just laying down. I'm not being really perfect with the eggs that I'm putting in. And the background is still wet, so it may pick up some of it, and I'm okay with that. And I'm just going to put in 3, and you put in how many you want. Just kind of let it tucked in to the bottom of the color that you put in. Sometimes I deepen my pocket of the bird's nest with a little black, but I'm just having fun with this one, doing it for a just practice. So I'm also, when I do my bird's nest, I pick up some of the colors that I used in the background. So I picked up some of the greens. I picked up some of the greens and the yellow ochre, and I brought out some stems, like a flower, like the birds pick some flowers with it, and they're popping out of the nest. And I'm using the tip of my brush and picking up some titanium white. My brush can be dirty. It's okay. And I'm just bringing down some little petals. I think I did 2 on this one, and just did a little stroke down on the tip of my brush. And then I wipe my brush off a little bit, and I'm picking up some more of the different colors. As you can see on the left, I used more whites in it. I even mixed up some gray colors. And it's a lighter bird's nest and a lighter blue on the left. This one's a little darker. And I covered up. I didn't shy away from taking my bird's nest and covering up. I want that paper to be part of the background. Not a realist painter at all. I don't even try to be. I like to be more whimsical, more loose, have fun. I picked up a very sharp, pointy palette knife, and I'm cutting through some of the colors. I'm bringing in some highlights, so I'm cutting through the white, and I'm going to cut through the blue also. You can water down if you want the color that you're going to cut through with the palette knife. This is still thin, and it is a craft, more of a craft type student grade paint, so it cuts through pretty well. But I'm just going back and forth and not exactly covering the twigs up, but giving it some highlights so it'll pop out more. And I'm just getting a little bit of the yellow ochre. I'm putting the centers in of my 2 little twig flowers, wildflowers that are in the nest. And I'm taking one of the pens again, and you really have to dry the pieces first. But I will probably go back and go over it. But what I'm doing is I'm taking the pen and I'm kind of loosely drawing around and shaping the paper that has flowers on it. And I'm drawing and making the stems pop out a little more. I will go along the seam of the paper, and I will loosely do a couple little lines just to, it pushes it back. It makes it look like it's more of the background than just a paper glued on. It loosens it up, makes it more whimsical. And let's see, the next thing I think I'm going to do is sometimes I'll put little speckles on it, so I'll wet you can use different brushes, but I like this little fan brush, and I'll wet a color. I can wet white. This time I used burnt umber. I took another brush and I laid it down and I tapped on it. So I'll put little speckles throughout the background. It pushes back the background, and I also will put speckles on the eggs. So that's why nothing's perfect. It's a little mixed media of gesso and paper. Then I'm taking that brush that I was using, the small little brush, and I'm thinning down the burnt umber a little bit and just doing the sides. Even though I'm going to paint the sides, I decided I wanted to do this. It adds to the mixed media whimsical look to it. And I'm just lightly just doing the sides. Sometimes I don't even use a brush. I just use my finger. And you see how that's popping a little bit? Draws your eye in. And you can do different colors with this. You can do white, gold. Gold is pretty. I just brought that around. It didn't go down the sides at all. The sides are going to be a different color. I'll probably try to draw some more here as it dried a little bit. As you do your piece, you'll look at it and you'll go, let me add some more. Sometimes it's hard to stop. You might go too far, but less is better with anything. And then I'm getting some of the Mars Black, I believe it is, and that's what I'm going to paint the sides on. If you look at the painting on the left, the one that's already framed, you can see the shadow of black. I did the same thing with that one. You don't have to paint the ground color, the yellow, like I did. I'm not sure why I did. I think I wasn't sure what direction I was going to go with this at first. But especially when I paint my frames of white, I like to frame the canvas in black. It makes the shadow pretty. So I'm not real perfect at painting the sides either. It doesn't have to be really thick. It's going to sit down into, at least the ones I do. Unless you're not framing them, you might want to. Or do little checkers on it, or go back over the black with some gold with your finger. That'll work too. So, the last one. And then I'm going to let this dry after I look at it again and see where I need to add it, and take it to the framing table and have my husband frame it for me. So I think I'm going to try to sign it again. May not happen. Especially it's hard is if you have texture on the background. It really has to dry good before you use a pen. And so after lifting it up with my palette knife, this is my finished piece. A little different than the other. It's more mixed media. Thank you. Bye.